I'm trucking on. And I'm trucking on. Move her on down the line. Another town will do me fine. I'm trucking on. I'm trucking on.
Kristen, Gray, Vargas, my cousin.
What's up, Primo?
Welcome to Truckin' On. You're my first family member, I think, on the Truckin' On podcast.
Sweet.
Yeah, someone else in my family's done it and I'm forgetting right now, I apologize to you. But we're at the family reunion.
So much fun.
My mom's side and my dad's side. You're on my mom's side.
Yeah.
And you are the oldest daughter of my mom's youngest sister, Patty. When did we lose your mom?
Gosh, it's hard to believe, but 2004.
Wow. That is crazy how long ago.
It really is.
I remember when it all happened. I was like best friends with Travis, your brother, at that time of my life. We hung out, almost every night of the week. I didn't have electricity during that time frame, and I would go take showers at his apartment.
That's just seems like such a different time, but also it seems so long ago, but also it doesn't seem that long ago in other ways. Yeah.
That time was so strange because Travis worked for Brian, her husband, your stepdad, and he was like working like 8-liner machines and driving out to the middle of nowhere every day and collecting money and then like driving back home. So he would drive hours every day for his job. And Brian would like come in. Your mom was in the hospital at Baylor right by where we lived. And we were both broke, Travis and I, and Brian would like come in and we'd go drink at the Elbow Room a lot. And he would be like very generous and he would like buy a box of my CDs for $500. And that was like life-changing money for me then, like it was, I'll never forget it. And he would pick up the tabs, and drinking was my number one favorite thing to do in my free time at that stage of life. And
Sure.
it was just but it was weird because your mom's in the hospital and he was really obviously upset. Your brother, we're all upset, and we were like drinking to drown our sorrows, but also like you have enough alcohol and then it's like, it was like, it's a really comforting memory, like during that time in a weird way, like all just being bonded there together.
Yeah.
So starting heavy, but you and I have known each other our whole lives. We're the same age base. You're 1 year older than me.
Yeah.
And, I like to, and we've been through so much together. And we've always been close. So I like to start ages 12 to 22. What impacted your life in significant ways during that time frame? And if you want to start earlier, you can.
Sure. From my perspective, 12 to 22 was wild, rebellious, chaotic. I probably moved 10 to 12 times. I was probably in 6 different school districts. And this wasn't like a military move for your viewers. These were just moves due to personal circumstance, my parents, just different things going on. And I feel like while I had a passion for theater and athletics, I also had a passion for bad boys.
Yeah.
And so 12 to 22, I think that our cousin Jake at times has summed it up best to say I would do some really good things, but then at other times what I was going through seemed like the content for an after-school special.
Yeah. I feel like you were the biggest outlaw of all of us, and we call ourselves the crazy cousin. So everybody's crazy in their own right, and definitely at different stages of life.
Sure.
But you definitely were troubled in your adolescence. And when did your parents get divorced?
So they got divorced when I was 13.
So, right, that's
in the thick of it. Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, would you say that's when that behavior
I would say there was sort of like earlier signs. I think it would be small-minded to attribute them to exclusively hormones or just life changes, but there were some early signs, but I would think that that life event certainly jumped off some of my risky behavior and wild life choices.
And your dad moved, did he move to Kerrville then?
So he,
because you were in Arlington first.
yes, I was in Arlington, and then we moved to Houston, and then we went from Houston to Kerrville. So we were in Kerrville when my parents were going through it. My dad stayed in Kerrville, and then I moved back to the Metroplex.
And your mom was a dental hygienist. Is that right? Or am I making that up?
By trade, she was an RN.
Okay, she was an RN.
So she was a nurse, but she did run my dad's dental practice. So she was kind of hybrid. Like, she was trained as an RN, had worked in hospitals, medical clinics. But when my dad opened a practice in Kerrville, she helped manage his office.
Yeah. Gosh, I forgot y'all lived in Kerrville all together. And then they got divorced, and your mom moved back to DFW,
Yes.
and your dad stayed in Kerrville.
Yes.
And you and Travis lived with your mom.
Yes.
What was that schedule like?
So the schedule, I would say, was opposite of what you think of like a traditional. I mean, I love that today there's so many folks that are co-parenting.
Like I do.
You do
right?
a great job of co-parenting, but I feel like back then the expectations were a little bit more rigid, but I just think that our dynamics were still informal in a sense that I stayed in Kerrville longer than Travis did. So Travis went to live with my mom first. I stayed in Kerrville for a few more months, ended up with my mom, and I just feel like the visitations and things were not as rigid. Like, I don't know. I don't really remember a scheduled. It was like if there was, a meetup or a vacation, we would go, but it wasn't like every other weekend or this certain time.
Yeah. But for a while, you were going to school in Kerrville, and Travis was in Arlington.
Yes.
And do you remember you had a friend named Taryn?
I do.
I have this like recollection, and she was in Kerrville. And you brought her to Dallas. And you were like, Ward, my friend Taryn's coming, and you can hook up with her. And you had like hooked up with my friend Mitchell. We must have been like 13, 14.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I can see Mitchell, so have him come over, and we can just have a double slumber party. I was so excited. I had never made out with a girl before. And then Mitchell made out with Taryn. And
Plot twist.
You and I were like, what the hell just happened here? I was so pissed off. And standard Mitchell Hill move from back in the day to do that.
Yeah.
And that's just a funny memory of your Kerrville time that we got screwed over in that.
There's actually, I mean, for Texas being so big but yet so small, I also recall a lot of these like connected experiences that really make no sense when you think about the geography. Like Kerrville's not close to Dallas.
Yeah.
But I also made a friend, we could call him a friend, when I was in Kerrville that was from Dallas, Owen Temple.
Oh, yeah.
And
A friend, eh?
he had some friends in Kerrville, but he was from Dallas. And then there's also another dear friend of mine from Houston, Lindsay Sanders, who's now in Dallas. And I also remember taking her to your family home and you being quite interested in that introduction too. She went on to be a gorgeous model, and still has a
yeah.
career in modeling. But yeah, there was a lot of these like,
I had a good eye.
you did. You
I
did.
should have been a model scout.
Yeah.
So Owen Temple, he's went on to be a pretty well-known Texas country singer, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, his love letters were fabulous circa
Really?
8th grade. I mean, just such a profound writer, deep thinker. But again, he had a friend in Kerrville. I lived in Kerrville. He's from Dallas. So again, all these different.
Broken hearts all around.
Yeah.
You were definitely the first of us cousins to like date people and have like a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And the rest of us were a lot slower. Logan was pretty good, our cousin Logan.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of the ladies' man between. I mean, I did okay. Like by the time I was like 15, I got my first real girlfriend, but we were kind of slow starters. But you were like 7th grade. You were like.
I was fast.
You were
I was
boy
wild.
crazy, you might say.
The badder, the better.
That's so true. And so y'all were in Arlington, and then Aunt Patty decides to go move to Brownwood.
Yeah.
With her sister Aunt Pam and like Jacob and Logan, our cousins, and then Nanny and Poppy, our grandparents, were all in Brownwood or in early Texas.
Yeah.
So you went from there to Brownwood, like high school, like 9th grade, or when was that?
I moved like the middle of my sophomore year.
Okay.
And if my mom were here to tell it, she would attribute the move to try to deter me from joining a gang or worse. So she was kind of
She was
looking at it
worried.
as like, hey, let's go to a slower paced life. Let's be surrounded by family. Let's kind of like remove ourselves from DFW or like bigger cities. But yeah, Nanny and Poppy were there. Pam and Charles were there. Jake and Logan were there. So we had kind of like built in friends and connections and things. But that was also a wild transition.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
2A high school, like I think.
At the time, it was 2A. So I would have been going from like roughly 5A. I don't think we had 6A back then.
Yeah, but you were in a big.
Yeah. So 5A to 2A. And at the time, there was very few people that would move in. I mean, the community was pretty closed off in a sense that if you're there, you're there, but there's not a lot of people moving in. And I was the cool city kid coming in to shake it up.
Because you were already like, like we were discussing, like you were pretty gangster in 8th grade in a 5A school. Like you were known for being a little wild and then going to a small town. I can only imagine you just walking in there like, what's up?
Yeah, I was the first girl fight that the high school had ever had. And, Pam had the pleasure or misfortune of trying to break up said fight.
Because our Aunt Pam was a teacher at said school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I was thinking Aunt Pam must have been like, oh, boy. Like, here we go. Kristen and Travis are moving here. And y'all lived on their property, right?
We did. We lived with Nanny and Poppy for a while, and then we eventually transitioned to a house on Pam's ranch, and that's where we lived until I left for college, and then ultimately Mom got remarried, and then they moved elsewhere. But yeah.
Your mom married twice after Uncle Charlie.
Yeah.
So the first one was, what was his name?
My first stepdad?
Yeah.
John? Yeah.
And they got married at my parents' ranch.
Yeah.
And they had like a monkey there at
did.
their wedding reception. And I remember that because I was there, but I didn't know him very well, and that didn't last I mean, it was not that long, right?
I mean, it was a short-lived marriage, I would say, but the connection is they were high school sweethearts. So they had
okay.
history of like growing up together. Their families knew each other, but kind of reconnecting midlife and getting married. It was short-lived.
Yeah. During that time, right when you moved to Brownwood, is when we went to the ranch on 4th of July.
Oh, yes.
And I was like very wanting to be like following your footsteps at that stage of my life. Like I don't know. I'm curious your perspective on me, because I kind of feel like I was a nerd, and then I got tired of being a nerd, and then I went really crazy, and then I got in trouble, and then I kind of settled down.
Yeah.
And then went really crazy again.
Yeah.
When I got out of the house and went to college. But I had liked this girl, and she broke my heart before it even got started, because I just kind of made a fool of myself, like trying to go for her, thinking that she liked me. And I remember I was like really upset by that. And that happened right before 4th of July. And I was like, I was listening to a lot of country music then, like George Strait. I was like, I'm going to get drunk, like, to deal with this pain. Like, it seemed like this is the thing to do. Yeah. And I wasn't a big drinker. I drank a few times probably by that point, and caught a buzz. But my goal was like, this is 4th of July. All my cousins are there, and y'all were all like, I knew that you'd be down, like, to go on a mission. And I had stolen money from my dad. I figured out this whole plan. We're going to camp out, and we're going to borrow the Suburban to go to the camp outside on the ranch. But we're really going to leave the property and go buy alcohol and fireworks and a BB gun pistol that looks like a 9mm and all the tobacco that we could purchase. And we just and Jacob had his driver's license. He was the only one of us that was 16. I was 15. You were about to be 16. They were like Logan, Travis, 14, and my sister Valerie was with us. She was 10. And we drove like all over highways 67 and 174, just stopping at every gas station. Like, do you have alcohol? And finally found a place. And I remember you painted a mustache on my face using your mascara. I made it tried to make it look like 5 o'clock shadow on my face. I remember that. And I just walked in and grabbed Bacardi Breezers, because it was the first thing I saw. And I was like, Bacardi, I remembered it from like Tone Loc song or something. Like, that is alcohol. I'm getting it. I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't see anything else. So I just got like all of these 4-packs of wine coolers, put them on the counter. They sold them to me, and I brought them out to the car. And then like Jacob's like, dude, why did you get these Bacardi Breezers? Like, you need to go get beer. It's like, they don't have beer. This is all they had. He's like, no, it's right there. And I looked inside. I must have been so nervous, And so I went back inside, got like Budweiser or something. And they're like, we need to see some ID. I just ran out. We took off. I mean, that was wild.
It was super wild. And I think back to like, I mean, it may be inherently obvious as we now recount it, but I don't think that we saw any risk with the plan. There was no concerns of being caught. There was no concerns of consequences. And I think that we thought the plan was expertly thought out. And like in hindsight, I remember drawing on, like you said, using mascara, eyeliner, mustaches, beards, whatever we could come up with. I just only wish we had photos of said experience.
There's one photo that's in the photo album at the ranch that is us all sitting around the poker table. And it was like the day after. And you could kind of see like glazed over eyes a little bit. And just like we looked like we were up to no good. Yeah. And And then it was just crazy. I remember I went in there to buy it and I like put on a show, I was like, hey, how's it going today? I'm just here. I want to get some breezers, and like put on this big show. Like they must have been like, what is going on right now? Sure. Take it. And going back in though, they realized.
And I stayed in the car with Val, but I also remember some live action Roman candles going down 67.
Oh yeah, at other cars.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And
what I remember is a smoke grenade getting thrown on the windshield, like between the windshield and the hood of another car. And then they chased us, and we were in a car chase, and Jacob's driving like down the highway, and somehow we escaped. Like, I don't even understand how any of this happened, but we escaped the car chase and made it back. Then we had a fireworks war all that night.
yeah.
And you and Valerie had to stay at the house, or did you? I don't think you camped out with us.
My memories
Or
are
maybe you
pretty
did.
much on the drive out and the drive back. I don't have very many campfire memories, so I don't know what we did.
I feel like the campfire was just the dudes,
Okay.
and we had like an all-out firework war. And we bought, because I'd stole like $200 from my dad, which in 1993 or 4,
Big money.
that was huge money. It would be like having $1,000
For
today.
sure.
And bought like all that we didn't spend on tobacco and alcohol, which is probably like $50, like $150 on fireworks.
We bought a lot.
Oh, and we had that BB gun pistol that looked like a 9mm that we bought at the hardware store in Meridian, and we would point it at people when we drove by them. And I mean, out of like, what's going on? This was so atypical behavior. Like, I never have done anything like that other than this one particular weekend and where I lost my mind. And we got away with it.
We did.
For a short period of time. And then I went to church camp the next week, ironically, and I felt very connected to God during that camp experience. Like, I am going to be a good boy now, and I've accepted Jesus into my heart, and I'm moving on with a clean slate. And I got home, and my parents were just looking at me. I did leave one part of the story out. I had called my friend Andrew, and I told him the whole story. Mm-hmm. And my mom eavesdropped on the whole conversation. And so the whole story you and I just had right now, she overheard me telling one of my good buddies from high school, and she did not even consider it could have been true. She thought I just made it all up to sound cool for my friend. And she was just like, why do you feel like you need to tell Andrew all of these things to seem cool? And I just went with it. Like, Mom, he went to Las Vegas with his dad and mom for 4th of July and got to go to a boxing match and was telling me all this. And I wanted him to think that I had a crazy weekend too.
Yeah.
And she's like, Ward, you do not have to do that. Like, you are already cool. It's like, well, thanks, Mom. I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. She's like, lying is not good. I know. I'm sorry. Then I went to church camp. Then I came home. Then
All hell had broke
I
loose.
mean, they were just like, we know about the 4th of July, like, because this all same thing happened in Brownwood, telling friends about it, and Aunt Pam or Aunt Patty overhearing. And then y'all are all there together, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you all got gathered together, like with both of your mom, like Aunt Pam and Aunt Patty, like what happened.
Yeah.
And then the story came out. Then it got relayed to my mom, who is then like, oh, I've heard this story before. It's definitely not something Ward made up. And Valerie the whole time was the only one that did not rat me out. Even though we were totally busted,
Yeah.
she was like, None of
I
that.
know nothing about
I
nothing.
know nothing about that because I made her like pinky swear me she wouldn't tell, and she did not tell, like a good sister.
Well, the irony is like, I don't remember a sit down with my mom or Pam. What I do remember is a phone call from your mom. And at this time in my life, I had probably been given every punishment consequence that you could reasonably think of, just for other things, including having my door removed, including just having every amenity, commodity removed, threatened to be removed, etc. But when your mom called me and did I am just so utterly disappointed in you, and I cannot believe that you would put your little cousin, your little 10-year-old cousin's life in danger. Y'all could have been killed. This could have happened. That like spoke to me louder than any punishment or consequence. Just the fact of like, your mom's disappointed in me, who I really respected and regarded. And when she like literally had to spell it out for me, like, you put my daughter's life in danger. You're supposed to be looking after her, and this is what you did. And I mean, that just crushed me. But I remember that. I don't remember anything my mom or Pam had to say about it.
Yeah. I just remember I was grounded. I never had any of those emotions like you're feeling.
Yeah.
Like if my parents had, I'm sure my mom told me the same thing. I did not receive it that way. I received it as, Valerie, good job. You stuck up for me. My cousins ratted me out.
Yeah.
And like, I'm grounded. Woe is me. And I was like a little selfish asshole. And we had a trip to Cancun planned like weeks later with my friend Greg,
Yeah.
and like, he wasn't allowed to go. I was grounded for the rest of the summer. My dad would make me work hours, so I would have to work like, I don't know, I can't remember how many hours, but like, you owe me 200 hours of labor, and I would have to like iron the clothes and, you know, shovel mud in the driveway and all of this stuff, mow the lawn, like all of these like kind of like normal chores that a lot of kids would do, but I never had to do that until I got punished, and then I had to do everything. Oh gosh. And but I also like felt really cool because the whole thing happened.
Yeah.
Like, and it really like gave me like newfound confidence coming into my sophomore year of high school. And even though I was grounded, I told everyone like this story. Like, it was like this calling card for me to be cool because I'd never been allowed to do anything on weekends or really other than like slumber parties at a friend's house. But I didn't get to like go out where all the high school kids hung out and drank. But I was grounded up until, I know this is about you, but just thinking about all this, I was grounded until the homecoming dance. And then I was able to go to the homecoming dance. What did I do? Got blacked out, kicked out of the homecoming dance, and then grounded again. And my dad's like, if we smell alcohol in your breath, you're going to military school. And I quit drinking for the rest of high school.
Cold turkey.
But that was like this 6 months of craziness. I mean, like looking back, like alcohol is a problem, like that runs through our family.
Sure.
And I know my mom struggles with it. I did not know that then because she had quit cold turkey, I think when I was like 6 years old, but I don't ever remember her drinking.
I don't either.
I just knew that she didn't like alcohol and like didn't drink, but I didn't know she had quit drinking. Like, it was never talked about. But I would say like of all of us cousins, like you're probably the lightest drinker, like in adult life. Like you don't really, I don't think of you as a drinker. Isn't that interesting?
It is. I mean, I know we hadn't jumped there yet, but if the 12 to 20-ish range was like wheels off, the crazier, the better. Past that, like back to saying like some of these episodes did seem like content for an after school special. Beyond that, I like morphed into like a grandma or something, because it was like once I was really immersed in college and college life, I found everything extremely boring because I had already done all of those things.
Yeah.
So it just got very boring, very monotonous, very like, this again. Like I got very bored with the lifestyle that I led, albeit probably earlier than most.
Yeah. And I mean, what was high school like? Was it going out every weekend?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was
partying?
partying hard. It was I found school to be incredibly boring and a waste of time. I was strictly there because I had to. Certainly I enjoyed some social elements of it, but yeah, it was partying certainly every weekend. I don't think weeknights were as much of a thing because I was athletic. I did play organized sports. I was involved, but yeah, partying every weekend. Yeah.
What did y'all do to party in early Texas?
So
And were like Jake and Logan and Travis in this same group with you, or were you like partying?
I would say I was on a higher end of the spectrum than they were, but I was certainly trying to bring them along for the ride and corrupt them in different ways. But living in a rural community where there's not a lot of like places for teens to like go and hang out, and then also not living in masterfully planned neighborhoods. Everyone's living pretty rural in that we live far away from one another. We're not like in a neighborhood where you could just like walk to someone's house. And so there was a lot of pasture parties, bonfires, and over time they became monetized, where you would pay to get into a pasture party or a bonfire, and there would be lots of kegs and people mushroom hunting and doing other things like that. But it was just...
What is mushroom hunting?
So I would just say that magic mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, grow in the wild, and certain people that were into that. I was never into that. I was more on just the drinking side, but they would go and find mushrooms. And this was before it was like, I would say had name recognition. Like in the city, I wasn't hearing people talk about mushrooms. It was just like...
I never heard about it until I got to college.
Yeah, it was just like a country... To me, it was a country thing that I had never heard of in any other places I had lived before.
Did you ever try them?
I did not. There's some things that stay with you and some that don't, but I had heard this story. I assume it was true, but my mom had once told me a story about someone that she had encountered in a hospital setting in DFW that had a bad acid trip and was now institutionalized because they thought they were a glass of orange juice. Like their whole being was they thought they were a glass of orange juice. And so this idea that you could hallucinate but somehow get stuck in the hallucination terrified me. So while I had no boundaries with certain aspects of my life, needles was a hard boundary for me.
Yeah.
That's why
same.
I have no tattoos and I never tried, heroin or any harder drugs like that.
Yeah.
And psychedelics terrified me. And again, I don't really know why, but
they did for me too until I got, I tried mushrooms like senior year of college.
Yeah.
And then that was not even on my radar in high school, and I was definitely scared of it. And I know that I had heard that same story or something similar.
Yeah.
And just to steer clear of it. So, nevertheless, you graduated
I did graduate.
in 4 years.
I did graduate. I had a lot of help along the way. I think I'm thankful that we had like a very supportive family that was like not going to school is not an option. Not going to college is not an option. So like I graduated from high school. I didn't want to go to college. I repeatedly told my parents that it would be a waste of their money to send me there because I was not engaged. I was not interested in college. But it was a non-negotiable. It's like, this is what you do. You go to high school, you go to college. Like, there's not an option of not going to college. I remember vividly my senior year in high school where they're doing like all of the most likely to succeed, who's the wittiest, who's this, who's that. We had to submit something like, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5?
Yeah.
And recently Jake and I unearthed these yearbooks just kind of for fun. And my senior year, my next milestone, I saw myself on the back of Dennis Rodman's motorcycle. That's what my quote was.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, I've been a lifelong Madonna lover, fan.
Oh,
but
yeah. You like turned me on to Madonna, actually. You loved Madonna.
And so that just kind of gives you a small indication of like, I was not in the mindset of like career. What do I want to do? I was just in the mindset of like, school is painfully boring. I'm not learning anything. It's a waste of my time. But yeah, I went on to college. And
I felt the same way. I was never like interested in school the whole time I was a student. I became interested in learning things when I was 37 years old. But before then, it's like, how do I just get by? Like, do what I need to keep my parents happy, to get into college, to get out of college, and get a job. Like, whatever the kind of the bare minimum to achieve what I wanted to achieve. But it was never about learning anything. It was about, how do I hack the system to get by? Because I could not sit. I mean, in class, I would go to sleep. I was a class clown. I would do anything but pay attention. And I had no interest. I would flunk like those like state exams in reading. And my mom thought, I mean, I got like 20 percentile in the school district or whatever, the state, and reading. And she was like scared I couldn't read or had dyslexia or something like that, and sent me to some kind of doctor. And they're like, no, he can read fine. Like, I would just, but if it was a reading comprehension exam for the state that didn't really count towards my grades, I would just go straight down and guess multiple choice and be done with it as fast as I could be done with it. That isn't that weird that we were both kind of like that?
It is, but it's relatable because I remember the Navy was trying to recruit me in high school, of all things. Like, I think rural schools have a lot of like military recruitment in general. Maybe all schools do, but I just noticed it more in the rural school. And the Navy recruiter asked me what I like to do, and I said I like to travel and lay out, like tan. And he's like, the Navy's perfect for you. Came to the house, talked to my mom, and they gave this like standardized test to me, similar to you, but I thought I was being extra cute. And I did the multiple choice abacadabra. Like, I just spelled out abacadabra, and I aced the test.
Really?
And so that's why they kept coming to want to talk to my mom.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, I think that's very interesting.
Abacadabra.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So then you went to college.
Yeah.
In San Antonio?
So I started at Tarleton, which is not too far from here. Stephenville. And I encountered kind of like similar to what I had encountered in Brownwood, just like very rural, kind of like a cowboy culture. And I was trying to get back to the fast life, the big city life, like as soon as I can, or as soon as I could. And so I spent some time at Tarleton, and then I transferred to San Antonio and lived there for a very long time, as you know.
Until now.
Yeah, until now.
Until last year.
Yeah, very recently.
And then, like, so in college, you were kind of disillusioned by that point with the partying, and did you start studying in college? Or did
I
you
would
take
say
it more
San
seriously?
Antonio is really when I had a call to action of like, hey, I'm going through the motions. I'm going to these clubs. I'm going to these parties. I'm doing all these ceremonial things, but I'm bored out of my mind.
You like made it back to the big city,
Yeah.
and you were like, actually, this is really not that different than what I
Yeah.
was just doing.
It was the
and
same stuff.
It's boring.
It was the same stuff, but at the same time, I was encountering people who were just beginning their wild journeys.
Yeah, I recently had another podcast guest who had a very similar experience where he partied really hard in high school and then college got serious. And I was the opposite. Like my parents did not allow that. Like I could not have gotten away with it. And I mean, I wasn't. I was grounded like almost until I was probably a senior in high school because of these actions, like in this few months of my life.
Yeah.
Because I got busted again in Cancun drinking and then the homecoming dance. So those three things
Set it off.
just like, boom, I was on lockdown. And if I was allowed out, like I would come home and they would be like right in my face. And I mean, I did not mess with them. My dad's kind of a scary guy. So, but then the opposite happened to me, like I got to college, like, and especially when I quit playing football and football was over, I mean, I just let loose and it went on for a long time.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, how these things work. And if it would have been different. And I, as a parent now, like I'm thinking, how am I going to be about that? And I'm an addiction expert.
Yeah.
Right. Like with everything I've been through and all the books and therapy and rehab. And I'm really open about that with my kids and I will always be.
I think that's wonderful.
I'm hopeful like that's, I mean, it's a different path than don't do this. It's like, here's why I don't do this anymore. Yeah. And, I think that's at least, I mean, that's just all I know how to do as a parent, right? Yeah. Is say, here are my mistakes and what happened and try not to make them instead of don't do this. It's not allowed because that did not work for me, at least. Like that just kind of, and it's not, I'm not like blaming my parents or anything, but it just is what it is. Like the pure abstinence resulted in a slingshot effect. You hear it all the time in Europe, like people drink in a way more appropriate manner than they do in the US. Mm-hmm. They don't sensationalize alcohol, but they also like let kids start drinking much younger. Like they're having wine with dinner in high school or something. Mm-hmm. But it's just like not that big of a deal. And when it becomes in America, it's just this big deal. I think it's becoming less of a cultural force than it was when we were growing up. Yeah. Like it was the thing to do. I feel like young people today, there's a large constituency that's growing quickly of this is not cool. It's like smoking is not cool. Yeah. Like alcohol is kind of moving in that direction now in this stage of the world, I think, in America, which is a great thing because it's like super dangerous. Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think kind of the shift, whether it's generationally, culturally, some of both from this like authoritarian, like you're saying, not necessarily promoting abstinence, but like promoting this persona of perfection to more like real talk. Because when you're talking about Europeans and, we have relatives in Belgium.
Yeah.
I also feel the same way about like underage sex and sexuality. I remember on some of like our early trips to Belgium, they would always ask like, Like the series Dallas. Hey, how come in Dallas when they go into the bedroom, they turn the lights off? Like that's just was weird to them. Or like they would have a condom commercial, but the commercial's showing you how to properly use and wear a condom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, as a 12-year-old kid, you're just mind blown. Like, what am I watching? What is happening? But I see that with drinking. I see that with smoking.
I never saw that
see
commercial.
I mean, we've got to look it up. But I mean, just things like that. And even maybe the psychedelic orange juice thing is a bit extreme. But like, I'm with you. I'm not an expert like you are. But like, meth wasn't on the scene when we were coming up.
Yeah.
And now that's probably, at least where we live, the biggest issue because it's cheap and it's accessible. But like, I want my kids to know what meth is made of, or what you may or may not know what's in there if you have a bathtub chemist throwing some things together. Like, I just feel like this transparency, this honest talk is really a huge generational shift for how you talk to your kids, how I talk to my kids, versus like, I don't know, I felt like my parents could never really relate to anything I was going through because I had the perception that they had never done anything like what I was going through. So why would I talk to them? They couldn't possibly relate, you know?
Yeah, but they did.
Yeah.
They just hid it.
Yeah, they just never admitted it. So,
yeah, transparency and truth I've found to be just like two of the greatest attributes for me to really try to embody for finding peace in my own life.
Sure.
Like, and not trying to pretend I'm something I'm not, or hide bad things and not talk about shortcomings and all of this stuff. Like, it's just unhealthy.
sure.
And therapy, like a good therapist will teach you that. And like, you go to rehab, like I used to think rehab's the place where crazy people go. Rehab's a place where they teach you, like, here's how to live because you didn't know any of this. Like, no one taught you this. And here's why you like alcohol so much. And the truth will set you free is a cliche for a reason. And like, you need to go come clean on all of these things.
Yeah.
And that was so foreign to me until I was 37. It was all, I just had this mentality, like, I'm gonna like always put on a face, like try to pretend like I'm well put together. I mean, unless I was out partying. And if I did that, I was with groups where that was socially acceptable.
Like-minded people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, then you got out of school, and what was your career path?
Yeah. So, I remember vividly, there was a career fair hosted at my school. And even though I spoke a little bit earlier about not really knowing what I wanted to do career-wise, not being particularly motivated yet, I've always been interested in like true crime, investigating things, looking into things, digging into things. And so I
Still are.
still am. I ended up getting super interested later in my college life with like forensic psychology, criminal justice, things like that. And so I was at this career fair thinking that I might be interested in federal law enforcement. My hiccup was I did not want to be a police officer. I wanted to be a detective. I did not want to be a police officer. And in most, if not all, local, state, federal law enforcement type jobs, you have to work your way up. You have to enter as a police officer and then work your way up. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be a detective. And so
Homicide detective, please.
yes. And then there so happened to be like a top 10 insurance carrier that was at the career fair. I knew nothing about insurance. I knew you needed car insurance. I had car insurance, but beyond that, I really knew nothing. And they were explaining to me what they had. And I'm like, no, I'm really more interested in this. And then they started talking about arson investigations and fraud investigations and all these like white collar type things at this insurance company. So I ended up biting, and that led to like a 20 plus year corporate career for a top 10 insurance carrier. And I really just climbed the corporate ladder, fell into the golden handcuffs analogy of like at a point in my career where I was more in a leadership role. I was far from that initial investigator role, but I really couldn't break away because of the golden handcuffs.
How the golden handcuffs just said you were getting paid more and you had this salary and you had this path to keep getting paid more.
Yes,
if you
like
kept
compensation packages, bonuses. Like I just kept climbing the ladder and getting further away from my passion.
Right.
So it's like you get this promotion and then you chase that promotion and then and then the next thing you know, you're just like so far away. At least I was so far away from what I really enjoyed doing.
Because they called you the Velvet Hammer. Is
They
that
did.
right? Because
They did.
Why? How did you earn that?
So
nickname?
I earned that title from one of my beloved mentors that had a very decorated career in the Secret Service. And when I entered the space, there was a couple of firsts. I was the first female. I was the first non-law enforcement background to get into this job. And I was also the first person, I would say, under the age of 40 or something that had been in this job. And so when we would go and interview people, some of my colleagues would have these very intimidating personas. They've been trained in interrogation. Like they're just the kind of people, if they show up at your house, you know something's wrong and you're kind of afraid to talk to them. Whereas at this time in my life, I was channeling more of the Miss Congeniality vibe. And so I would show up, I'm young, I'm bright, I'm cute, I'm not intimidating at all. And I would just start talking. And the more that I would start talking to these people, the more I would learn. And then the next thing you know, it's kind of like the old, okay, you told me
right,
this.
I burned my house down.
First you told me
so
this.
sorry, Kristen.
Exactly. So I'd kind of, unearth these inconsistencies or contradictions. And so that's how I earned the Velvet Hammer, because people would inevitably tell me things that my coworkers were not able to get necessarily right away. And I also had kind of, I would say, a more Kristen-esque, untraditional approach.
Have you ever thought about going into law enforcement at this stage of your life?
I have not, but
I think you'd be really good as a detective is why.
I really haven't given that much thought, but I did recently start a startup. So it's a private investigations company. And I think I'm getting some fulfillment and being able to tap into what I'm really passionate with that kind of pet project. It's right now, candidly, a hobby or maybe some part-time work, but that's where I'm kind of tapping into that.
Can you tell me about a project with the new startup? Like,
Yeah. So really, I feel like it's a lot of information gathering and fact finding, but it's, there's this quote from Sherlock Holmes that's like, the spirit of it is that all the details are so freaking obvious, but most people will never even see them.
right.
It's there. So it's a matter of just like talking to people, knocking on doors. Some of the cases I've gotten involved in recently are kind of he said, she said, but only one side of the story is really being considered by law enforcement for a number of reasons. But when I go and talk to the neighbors, I go and talk to the employers, I go and talk to friends, I do a social media investigation, I'm able to really bring to light additional context that can really help get closer to the facts.
Did you follow the Amanda Knox trial?
I didn't.
I just heard her on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like 15 or 20 years later. I might be off on that, but it was a long time ago that happened. And
yeah.
It feels like yesterday, kind of when she was all over the news.
Mm-hmm.
But just hearing her speak about that, like basically the district attorney in Italy that was prosecuting her, they made up their mind. Like, this person's guilty.
Yeah.
And we don't want to hear any other evidence that says she's not, because we've already made up our mind that she is. And I think a lot of that goes on.
Yeah.
And according to her, in the justice system, where it just becomes this way, I guess just managing all of this shit you have to manage when you're in that role. And then sometimes you start taking shortcuts and just making these decisions. And I was just thinking she could have really used you, like,
heck yeah,
a private investigator.
But it's really just that. I mean, a small example that you just kind of reminded me of would be, I recently had a case where a woman called in a complaint and said that she had been assaulted by her boyfriend, but this assault had taken place 6 months prior. But the reason she's just now coming forward 6 months later is because he had threatened to kill her if she came forward or told anyone what had happened. And I was working for him. So he's just like, this is totally not true. Like, I did not hurt her. I did not assault her. This was a workplace injury. She did get injured, but it was at her workplace. But what really happened was, I've moved on. I'm with someone else now. So this is like revenge. She's so unhappy that I've moved on that now she's filed all these false allegations. And,
what a nightmare that would be.
So, I know we don't have time for all the details.
Like Gone Girl.
But I went and talked to the witnesses to the accident, talked to her employer, talked to all these different people. And in this particular case, it appears that it was all revenge motivated. And so, thankfully, those charges have since been dropped against him. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there's not always enough resources to really chase down every detail. So, yeah.
I think that's cool. And I think you're cut out to do this. And that seems actually better. I actually forgot you were doing that. And that just seems like an awesome career path, because then you don't have to deal with the bureaucracy of like working for the police department or something. You get to go do all this on your own. Do you have a badge that says private investigator on it?
I do.
Did you have to get a license or something to do that?
I did.
Yeah.
So I'm licensed. And I agree wholeheartedly. While being self-employed is something totally new for me, because I've always been in the corporate grind my entire working life. There's something profound and empowering about it, about being able to pick and choose the kinds of things that I would like to work on or not work on, but also not being held down by the bureaucratic ritualism of like, we do it this way because we do it this way. Like, because
I said so.
Yeah.
Or someone
we've
else
always
did.
done it this way. And so I find that to be really, really motivating.
I bet. That's awesome. How old were you when you and Mark got married?
I was 25.
Pretty young.
Yeah.
And you have two amazing kids.
Yeah.
You're the first of all of the crazy cousins to become a parent.
Yeah.
And then you decided to get your kids out of the big city and take them to the small town.
Yeah.
How's that small town transition working? You're like kind of repeating the cycle in that way.
Yeah, it is interesting how things really come full circle, and all the things that I did not appreciate or like about rural living, I was seeking out that for my family, like wanting a sense of community, wanting other moms to contact me if my kids were doing something that they shouldn't be or that I should know about, and really just trying to find a way to slow down our pace of life. Tired of the traffic, tired of the crime. I mean, we had gotten to a point where every single place we needed to go, it seemed like it took us an hour, whether it was 7 miles or 30 miles, you know? So it just seemed like that was really taking its toll on us. And we were both working remote. So we really had no reason to like stay fixed because of a job or because of some business tie. But the transition, it hasn't been an easy one. I mean, there's pros and cons with it, like everything else. But I think it's been harder on the kids than it has for us, because they're just like, once you're used to city amenities, and both of my kids would tell you they identify as city kids.
Yeah.
It's hard. I thought maybe since they were younger than us when we transitioned that it would be a bit different, but it's still hard.
What is the greatest obstacle you've overcome?
That's a really challenging question. I would probably say near term, it's being laid off from a corporate job. So like I was in the corporate rat race for more than 2 decades, even though I recognize that makes me sound extremely old. And layoffs happened all around me, probably forever. But I would say that I would recognize that that would always be a possibility, but you never think it's going to be you. And so when I was laid off, first time I had ever been laid off or gone through this, it was about a year into this uprooting our family and relocating. And so for me, that was the biggest obstacle, because it was kind of a convergence of all these life events.
Right.
Like where the kids are age-wise, moving, not just moving, but moving to a dramatically different type of place, and then losing my job, because I've never not worked. Like one of the things that I failed to mention was that even in the bumpy starting college, I always had a job. So I've never not worked. And the only time I've been away from work is with the nominal maternity leave of years past. I'm really happy that maternity and paternity leave have dramatically improved. But so I didn't realize that how much of my identity, even though work has never been my number one, I didn't realize how much of my identity was caught up in my work. So that was a huge obstacle, to be essentially displaced. I've uprooted everyone for this remote job, and now I have no job.
Do you think it happened because you went remote and then they shifted back to like kind of the post-COVID thing, like people want people back in the office and they're like, well, we're going to just do away with the remote workers?
I think that was part of it. I think another part of it was, even though I had been in kind of a fixed, very stable top 10 insurance carrier employment situation during the pandemic, I use the word poached by another employer. And I went into a startup project, and going into the startup project, while we had very deep pockets as far as financially backed by a large company, the project itself was one of those ones that like, hey, if this works, if this takes off, we're all going to be very successful. If this flops, we will all lose our jobs, but we'll at least have this experience of building a new insurance company that we would have never had working for a legacy carrier when everything's already built.
Yeah.
And so I rolled the dice, got the experience. I wouldn't say that it flopped, but I would say that I got caught up in a significant reduction in force or downsizing. And I feel like the executive roles are kind of the ones that are easy to pluck off.
Yeah.
But since then, I feel exactly what you're saying, because I do feel like in the heart of the pandemic, remote was everything. And now, at least the industries that I follow, it's all basically settled more into hybrid.
Yeah.
Where they've recognized that the culture is important, the visibility is important, the interactions are important, and you need to be present. And so this idea of like in the office 4 days, work from home maybe 1 day or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but
I think like employers realize that. I think employees are having a really hard time after a taste of the freedom.
Yeah.
Is what I've heard from multiple sources.
I agree. And I mean, I just feel like too, it's not a one size fits all.
Totally.
I've had many employees that thrive working remotely, and I've had others that don't really thrive working remotely. I also think that if you're, self-motivated and driven, you can be way more productive. I know initially when I started working remote, I automatically picked up 2 hours that I previously spent in commuting to the office.
Yeah.
And now I have 2 hours of extra time on my calendar,
Yeah.
But
I've worked remote for a long time, way before COVID. And yeah, it should, I think good management should be, instead of a blanket policy for an entire company, perhaps give people the opportunity to prove that if they want to work remote and that's their choice.
yeah.
If their performance is at a certain level, then fine. Like, why not? If I was forced to go to an office from 8 to 5 every day, I would quit said job. Like I could not do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't be productive. I found the office always distracting. I was never like a person that's like into water cooler talk and all of that. Like if I was forced to be in the office, I would be there at the bare minimum. It was like back in school.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to your younger self?
That's something I think about a lot, because now I think I see it through the eyes of our own kids. Like, what would I tell them that I wish I would have told myself? But the two things that I probably would say is perception is reality, right? That's been something
So true.
that while that 12 to 20-ish was a fun ride, but a wow ride, it created a lot of perceptions about me that I worked really hard at in that post period to like prove myself to other people, whether I needed to or not, of like, I'm good. Like, I can do these things. I can make good choices. I am responsible. You know what I'm saying? So perception is reality, and just the idea of like who you surround yourself with does matter.
Oh,
so,
yeah. A lot.
Are you elevating, or are you around yourself people that lift you up, that you can learn things from? Or are you surrounding yourself with people that, whether you see it or not, are bringing you down? So I would say perception is reality would be a big thing. And then the other thing, which does sound cliche, but for my life experience, would just be like, be yourself. I think I had perfected this superior chameleon effect where I had cultivated so many friendships with like extremely low socioeconomical situations and extremely high, that I could thrive in any situation with having such just a wide range of people I knew. And I would sort of like flex who I was to fit in. So again, that's fine. I do think that everyone should have a diverse network, but at the same time, who are you? You know? So that's what I would tell my younger self is be you.
I was like that a lot too. And that took me a long time. Like I would say within the last 5 years, I've really just become comfortable in my own skin and not trying to make other people think that I'm cool.
Yeah.
I mean, being a dad helps, right? Like getting older helps. But yeah, that's then everyone I think notices that and appreciates that too.
Yeah.
So cool. I know you have because we've talked about it. Have you ever had a mystical experience?
I have. I've had a few. I'd be happy to talk about them. They're kind of clips, I would say. They're not like reoccurring experiences, but we talked about my mom passing away when I was younger, and she had a very distinct perfume that she would wear. Distinct in the sense that like that's the only person that I know would wear this scent. It wasn't like one of the mass-produced, popular kind of scents. And there's been a couple of times in my life where that scent is just present for I cannot explain why that scent would be there. And two examples would be one time I was picking up the kids from school and it was for a doctor's appointment. That's important because no one was in the parking lot. Like the school parking lot's empty. It's just me picking up my kids in the middle of the day. And I get out of my car and I just smell her scent, her perfume. And I notice it, but I'm just like, oh, I bet, wow, someone must have really laid it on thick if there's like this lingering perfume trail and no one is here. Get the kids, bring them in the car. I had some still in car seats at that time. Open the car door and it's just there. I'm like, okay, this is different. Go home. It's still there. And then I'm talking to the kids and my daughter in particular kind of notices that something's off. And she's like, what's going on? And I'm like trying to explain this to her. And she's like, well, that's so interesting. We just did this project at school and we had, on the bulletin board, you had to make like a cloud of a wish that you had. And she's like, my wish was that I want to meet my Nana Patty. And I was like, oh? And so again, just as soon as we had that conversation, it stopped. But that was a mystical experience in that particular day. And that's happened one other time in a very rural area. Not so much the context or lead up, but just like in the middle of a ranch with no one else around and I'm by myself. I was just overwhelmed with her perfume. So don't really know what it means, Ward, but that's a thing. And then I've also had my mom and nanny visit me. So I was living in San Antonio and I was going through like I was going through something very heavy, very rough. And I was like meditating in my room. Wasn't asleep, but I was meditating in my room. And then mom just walked through the door, kissed me on the head. Nanny was right behind her, kissed me on the head. And all I just saw was like this white, golden kind of light, like right around my door frame. I think it's important to note I was sober. I was not under the influence of anything. Like there's no, other explanation. But to me, those are both pretty profound that I hold on to.
Yeah. Do you meditate a lot?
I do. I mean, I'm very cautious in saying, I would say not to your level of status, but I do every morning. I have my own little ritual of like what I try to do before the day gets crazy, before the kids get up. And it just involves quiet meditation before I grab my coffee and start, figuring out my day.
How did you get into that?
So I really got into it at Lake Austin Day Spa.
Yeah.
That was something that your mom turned us on to. I feel like now over 10 years ago, but I went to a yoga nidra class out there. And I was in this yoga nidra class, and I don't know where I went, but I went somewhere. Because we were just in this room. We were in a dark room. We had our legs up on the wall. And it was a guided meditation. And I went somewhere. I don't know exactly where I went, but it was just such a peace and such a clarity came over to me that after that is when I really started getting into guided meditations and just, yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your favorite restaurant?
That's a tough one because I feel like it's very like where, but in my current locale, there's a darling restaurant called Lucille and Mabel. And it's one of the few, I would say, more modern restaurants that we have. And it's kind of a place that we love to go for special occasions or just for a treat.
Lucille and Mabel, Brownwood, Texas.
Lucille and Mabel, Brownwood, Texas.
Are you going to take the kids there at the next Aunt Pam Christmas party?
That is tempting. It's a toss-up between that or the movies.
You got in trouble this year.
I
It was
did.
so funny.
You witnessed it.
You took all of the kids to the movies, and I think me as a single dad, I'm like, take them, like, get them out of here. Aunt Pam was not happy about that. We love you, Aunt Pam.
Yes, we do.
It was really funny because I saw that this dynamic kind of come back from when we were kids, and I was kind of scared of Aunt Pam growing up. And my parents had in their will, like, if they both died, I was going to live with Aunt Pam and Uncle Charles. Like, no, I want to go with Aunt Patty because your mom, like, was cool.
Yeah.
She was just like one of the kids whenever we got together,
Yeah.
and but my mom, there's no way that was going to happen. It's like, no, you're going with your Aunt Pam. And now as an adult, it totally makes sense. It's like, I might have to like send my kids to Aunt Pam if that happens to us. she's a incredible mother.
Well, and I think, just to give any listeners like some additional context, the preteens, teens were getting a little antsy and bored and wanting to do something. But
Yeah.
I think that there was some other planned ideas of maybe like staying home and playing some games or doing something. But
At least they're not stealing our cars.
yeah,
You know?
that's solid facts.
Let's
there.
just hope we can make it through without that happening. That'd be a win.
I did see a meme recently.
I'll
There's
have a one-up on my parents.
I saw a meme pretty recently, and it was talking about at this age, I was stealing my parents' car, and I can't get my own child to take the trash can outside by themselves. Not in a sense of like they don't want to do the chore, but they're afraid. Like, I don't want to go out there by myself and do this, or I don't want to order for myself at the restaurant,
A lot of kids don't want to drive now. That's a thing. Like where
I'm
they're not
hearing about that.
they're just like not excited to drive, or they don't want to drive. There's some fear around it. It's got to be the internet. Like too much information,
Yeah.
Like we didn't have things to worry about when we were growing up. Like we had no idea of these consequences because
No.
like we didn't hear horror stories like constantly in the news when we were growing up. It wasn't possible without the internet.
No Amber Alerts.
No. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out with
I think so.
these generations and the iPad watching and all that. And
I was actually talking to your sister a bit about this, but I think all of our kids collectively were born into this, they're calling it the Gen Alpha generation,
yeah,
where when they were born, the digital age was full blown. Whereas the generation prior to them, yeah, the smartphone came out in their generation, not necessarily when they were born, but this idea that all of the smart devices, when they were born, they were accessible.
yeah,
And so this is probably a different topic for another show, but this idea of like, do we meet them where they are? Or like in the school systems, you know, Texas has recently banned cell phones and all smart devices from schools. And some people think that's really great, and other people don't think that's really great. And it is going to be interesting to see where it goes.
yeah. Who knows? It's weird to me that they're teaching kids the same way they taught us in schools. Like, as far as I can tell, I wasn't paying too much attention when I was in school, but seeing what my kids are doing now, it's like, really? Like, we haven't like changed this approach with all the technology that we have now. You would think it would be different. I also am so passionate about learning things now, and I read all kinds of things all the time. It's like, why aren't we teaching things that matter? You know, like public speaking and sales and marketing, and like, here's how you interact with people. Here's how you write a really good email. Like, this is when it's appropriate to text message and business. Like, I don't know. I'm just making things up. Reading spiritual stuff. Like, I get that religion should not, like, you know, like to put religion in a public school. I get that, but the spirituality and like study of all different religions and all the teachings and different things. Like, if you do that in an open way and you look at it, I did this in Sunday school at my Presbyterian church. Like, they had a rabbi come in and they had someone come in that was Muslim, like, and explain, but learning about all the different spirituality as a function of school, what you'll see is there's commonalities between all of them at the base. And I truly believe that. It's like all the information in at the beginning of every religion coming from God. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of the major ones. And it's kind of the same message, which is pretty damn simple, but like, spirituality is lacking in our culture right now, I think, but that's going to change. I think the level of chaos the world is in right now, there's only one way out of it, and it's not AI. It's not
Amen.
It's like human minds like trying to prove something tangible to fix it. Like, this is not a fixable thing, and I see that. I'm super spiritual. I understand God possesses powers that are beyond our comprehension, and they don't have to be proven, and you don't have to know how it's done. But like, to at least start understanding these basic tenets of spirituality should be taught in school. It shouldn't be no God at all. I mean, I can get like, you don't have to put like to push one religion on school children in a public school. No, not that either. But there's got to be this balance.
I agree.
Is there a book that you would recommend?
Oh, there's so many. I could tell you a little bit about a book I'm reading right now. I haven't finished it, but it's very interesting. It's not a new book. It's been out for some time, but it's new to me. And it's called Soul Survivor, Soul, Soul, Soul Survivor by the Leiningers. And it's a very interesting story about a young boy who it appears he has life experiences from a World War II pilot that was lost in the war. So it's touching on reincarnation, and it's nonfiction. And it's just something that I think stories like this are very common in countries or religions or places that believe in reincarnation, but not so much in our culture. Meaning, I've never heard of a story like this before, and I think that that's why I'm so intrigued. But Soul Survivor.
Yeah, I'm big time new age spirituality guy now, as you know. And yeah, that's a pretty common theme of the reincarnation of souls, like in new age spirituality. And a lot of, like, you can call them Christian mystics, like they believe in that. And, like your soul's life, and you say it, and people say it all the time, like, what an old soul. What does that mean? That means they're reincarnated a lot of times. Like, everyone says this person's an old soul. That's where that comes from. Like,
I never knew that.
That's reincarnation.
Yeah.
Yeah. An old soul's been here more times than a new soul. And I mean, is that true? No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying no. It's like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, there's one of my favorite quotes is, he who says he knows doesn't know. He who knows he doesn't know knows. And
I like that.
That's like my take on spirituality. It's beyond my comprehension. Is reincarnation real? I don't know, but it makes sense. I get that there's people that move through this world with ease and grace, and then there are others that really struggle. And I believe in God, so I'm not like an atheist. I don't think this is all just like, we're just like these animals that come out of some living, breathing organism and it doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't believe that. There's too many coincidences. There's too many of these, like, and just studying it and meditating and watching miracles that occur, and paying attention to that type of stuff. If you're open to it, like believing in something greater than ourselves, that's really when the magic happens. I've heard it, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I heard a podcast with him, and I loved this about him. Like, regardless of what people think about him, he was a heroin addict, and he quit, and through going to AA, and he goes to AA meetings every day. But he saw a friend of his that was like super spiritually sound and like lived a peaceful life, and like, how do you do this? He's like, well, I just believe in God and I pray every day and all of that. And he's like, really? And he was a big skeptic at that stage of his life, but then he's just decided, instead of, that's stupid, which a lot of people might be quick to say, he just said, well, I'll try it. And he just started praying every day and reading the Bible and like doing that. And then it's like, he's like, it started working. Like, I started seeing this in action, and I have that same experience. I was never like a person that didn't believe in God, but I didn't necessarily believe that God like had time to pay attention to me.
Right.
And so like, what, I don't know. I thought I had faith in God until I realized I had very little faith in God. And then that's something I think, as I continue to kind of like build that relationship, it continues to evolve. It's like, whoa, you thought you were spiritual in 2020. How about 2025, man? Do you have a favorite quote?
I may have already given it up earlier, but I really like the Sherlock Holmes quote. That's, basically all the details are here, but very few people ever notice them.
I would be a horrible detective. Like, I do not pay
That's
attention.
That's why you have me, Word.
I know. I don't pay attention to those details, though. I don't remember faces very well. Levi's kind of like me in that regard, my son, and we're coming to Rough Creek for probably like our sixth family reunion here, and we've been here a couple of other times on vacations. It's like, Levi, we're going to Rough Creek for the family reunion. What's Rough Creek? It's like, it's where we go every year, twice a year normally for the family reunions, one on each side. Now it's combined. The place with the broken hot tub. Like, he's like, okay. But I mean, that's totally just that kind of aloofness that I possess as well, that I find like super adorable in my son, because I get it. And it's kind of, I think that's a little factor. I've tried to figure out what it is. And I think it might be just like a living in the present type of thing that I think I'm pretty good at. But part of that comes with not remembering too much and like not dwelling on the past and like whatever. And I mean, there are places, of course, that stick out, but I've always kind of been like that. Like, oh yeah, like whatever. It's just interesting, but I say it all the time. Like, I'd be the worst detective, because I mean, I see people, hell, at this family reunion, I see these kids. My dad's side of the family has like my dad has so many little ones. They're Catholics on his side, and they're all changing and growing. I'm like, my brain is like, well, who is who here?
The time progression is just staggering.
If I see someone not just like at the family reunion, but anywhere like in Dallas, and I'm not expecting to see that person, and they're not in my like inner circle, but I haven't seen them in a while, and I'm not expecting them to see them in a place, I will get recognized very easily, because I'm like just a large man, and I think I'm a recognizable person, you know?
Yes, you are.
And in Dallas, I've grown up in the same neighborhood. I used to play in a band, so I have that whole community, those two communities. And then I've been in commercial real estate for 20 years, so I have that whole community. In between that, those three things, I see people like everywhere I go. So like, I know people, but a lot of times if I'm expecting to see you, I'll know obviously who you are, but a lot of times I just like have trouble remembering faces. What's up with that?
I don't know.
It's weird. It's not like it's early onset. It's happened like since I was, for as long as I can remember.
But do you recognize it? Like I would say, even for myself, who is very detail oriented, I never forget a face, but I have to work really hard with names. So I never forget a face. So even if, like, say you're the barista at a coffee shop that I don't even regularly go to, I just maybe have seen you one time and then I see you again, I cannot get to a point of contentment until I figure out how I know you.
Yeah.
It just bothers me. And kind of like what you're saying, when you run into people in different settings or settings that you're not expecting to see them. I don't know. But yeah. When
I was married, Gina was really good about it, like knowing whenever we go somewhere for her to quickly introduce herself, because like, I don't know anybody, and everybody, it's like a lot of people are going to come say hi to me that I know I should know. And right when I hear the name, then I'm like, oh yeah, that's who you are.
Put it together.
It's
yeah.
Weird. I'm blind too. Like, I have very bad vision. I wear contacts and everything, but I think that must have something to do with it.
Maybe.
I think about it like, what if I had 20/20 vision? Like, what would that be like? It would be like Technicolor life, like the way I know that I can pass a driver's license exam, thankfully, but barely. Like, it's always been that way. It's not like it gets progressively worse, but since I was a kid, it's always been bad. So maybe that has something to do with it. Is there a charity or cause that you're passionate about?
There's a couple. So, one of them, hometown, would be Good Samaritan. So Nanny is one of the founding members of it. And so Nanny started a number of charities in Dallas-Fort Worth that were very impactful. But I think that the one in this rural community stands out the most, because a lot of these rural communities do not have the resources that that bigger communities do. So it's a food pantry. It's a place where people can come to get food if they're just needing to get by. They can come and get clothes. They can get assistance with utilities and things like that. So that's very near and dear to my heart because Nanny was one of the ladies that started it, but also because where we live, there's not layers of redundancy. So it's not like, oh, you could go here, or you could go here, or you can go here. There is literally just this one singular place that helps so many people. So that's one cause that I'm very passionate about. I'm also very passionate about a medical cause at UCSD La Jolla. It's the Moore Cancer Center. And there's an oncologist surgeon out there, Jason Sicklick, that has the Sicklick Lab. And he does a lot of fantastic cancer research on drug resistance issues and like really rare gastrointestinal tumors. And so that's another like passion focused project for me. Those are probably the two: local Good Samaritan, larger scale UCSD Moore Cancer Center in La Jolla.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite vacation destination?
San Miguel de Allende.
Yeah.
So
Your dad is a big fan of that, right? Is
Yes.
that how y'all started going there?
we absolutely did. So my dad and a lot of his friends in Kerrville that are big into like the folk festival started going annually to San Miguel probably in the 80s, 90s maybe. And they would go weekly for a jazz festival there. And so it started off as us going to this jazz festival that would happen to run the week of Thanksgiving. And then it just turned into, then we would just like not really go to the jazz festival anymore, but just go. I just love, I love the architecture. I love the culture. I love the people. I love the food. And I think all too often we just think of Mexico in particular as beach. And so the interior of Mexico just has so much to offer too that I think at times is overlooked because we get pulled to the beach.
I've never been.
What? Well, we have to change that.
I know. I was just thinking.
We need to go.
Yeah. John Pedigo and I do an annual trip for Thanksgiving, and we've always gone to the beach. But that would be, I was just thinking like that would be a good place. But yeah, I need to go. If y'all go, tell me. We can bring the kids.
We'll have to make that happen.
Have you brought the kids there?
I haven't.
Yeah.
But I think they're ready.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah.
We could do like co-family vacay. We've done that before.
Yeah. And we always have fun. So let's do it again.
Thank you, cousin, for being my first family member guest here on Truckin' On.
It was a blast.
How do people find you if they want to hire you as a private investigator to help them make sure things are, the truth is being told?
Yeah, I appreciate the shout out. I'm going to have to get back to you for now. You might have to be my intermediary for a minute. I don't have my website built up yet, but I have partnered with a graphic designer in San Antonio that's kind of helping me build my brand, build my logo. But right now it's kind of just word of mouth. I'm not doing any advertising yet.
I'll tell you what, anyone can contact me if you need to get a hold of Kristen, and but when you get it set up, then I'll add it to the show notes. So it'll
Thank you.
be
I
on
would
here
love that.
forever. And that's all I got today.
Love you, Primo.
Love
Thank
you
you
too. Let's go bowling.
Let's do it.
Thanks for trucking on.